Willow, Gus, hold hands again.
We're controlling it with the power of friendship. And the moon. Probably the moon.
Hootie's moving hassle. Oh boy, Hootie's in the title. That's fantastic. That great character. His name's in the title. That's fantastic. Well, luckily enough, he hardly has any speaking roles, so my ears don't bleed. Fantastic. And if you guys didn't actually know, this is actually a reference to a Ghibli film called Howie's Moving Castle, which is actually a movie about witches and wizards doing magic with a moving building. Yep, sure is. I have no idea why I have this on hand, but of course, in this episode, Loose and Glasses and Black Kid want to do a conjuring thing, which apparently brings something to life, like action figures, plants. Actually, no, plants are alive. You know, shit like this thing, like my Elsa figure. Bring that to life. That's exactly what they do. They want to stick it up and say, hey, bitch girls, you know, we can do this shit, and apparently they can only do this like once a year because the moon does something. That's the only time they can actually do a conjuring thing. You know, of course, as I said before, they went standing up to the mean girls. And of course, our girl Amity was in this episode.
Leave her alone. It's not her fault she was born without talent.
But, you know, she was still a bitch. But, of course, you know, any sort of Amity content I love. This episode already gets 1 point just because Amity's in this episode. This episode is... it's fine. I wouldn't really call it a filler because it is kind of important to the plot. A little bit, because of the Edith stuff, even though that still kind of was a joke. And it gave us our introduction to an amazing character, Mr. Piggy, Tibbles, you know, evil pigman.
You are Grimhammer?
Tiblet Tibbly Grimhammer the Third. Please, call me Tibbles.
Who also comes up and shows up in another episode, which that episode is technically a filler. I don't know if I would actually consider this episode filler or not, because, like, it does kind of progress the plot with Ida, like, in her monster form, or the owl form. I don't know really what to call it. I guess, you know, Ida's owl form. I don't know. So basically, of course, like, Ida says, you can't do this, conjuring thing at all. But of course, it's an Owl House episode, so they're gonna do the opposite of what a person tells them to do. Because it's Owl House. We have to make an episode. We can't follow the rules. This is a goddamn Owl House episode. We can't do what they tell us to do. We have to make an episode. So of course, they do exactly what Ida tells not to do, and apparently they accidentally, you know, conjure or like possess the house. Which apparently Hootie has legs, which is something I never want to ask. Does Hootie have legs? I never want to see that, but apparently he has legs. So I feel like that is going to come into play later on. At some point Hootie is going to like walk up and do stuff. Because I didn't know Hootie had. Like, I feel like that is a very important thing. Because it's like, it's not like they just summoned legs there. Like, Hootie clearly had legs this entire time. So like that's a plot point that is going to come back. So yeah, and of course this is the one where Ida's trying to like get her elixir back and well, whatever anyways. So yeah, this episode's fine. It had like one really good funny joke and like, you know, is this what you want to do? Push children off cliffs? And he's like, of course. It's been a dream of mine since I was a child. That is the best line in this episode. And also just shows you how terrible people are in this world. Like, god damn, like people are just giant assholes in this universe. This episode is not amazing, but I would say it's pretty important to the plot, just for important character, and also like that Amity bit, you know, learning that, you know, Willow and, you know, Amity had a history together.
Luce, I'm so sorry. You wanted to turn back, but I just had to show off to Amity. The truth is, she and I used to be friends.
What?
You know, which does come back in a really great way, but also just like, like, it just really just builds their friendship a lot more. That's really the big part about this episode. It's just them building their friendship. I mean, yeah, we had conventions. Conventions was literally the only episode that they kind of hanged out in. But also, they didn't really do anything together. They walked around a little bit, and that's literally all they did in this episode. And this episode, they finally hang out for the entirety of the episode. So their friendship is a lot stronger in this episode. So I guess that's a big reason why this episode exists. Because, you know, their friendship is being built on in this episode. So I guess that's the big importance of this episode. So anyways, guys, I keep saying this episode. We're gonna go ahead and move on.
I saw that human girl again. The diary. I may have overreacted. I don't want to come off as cruel. I just can't show weakness. No.
Lost in language. Now, I have to admit, this is probably one of the best episodes in the series, and one episode that I constantly keep going back to. And no, it's not because there's some plot progression in it, or even we don't even learn about some kind of lore in the world. It's actually just because of character development and just hanging around these characters and learning more about them. Now, like, this is the episode where I finally started to like Amity Blight. And the interesting thing about Amity is that she's a character that we all pretty much hated at the beginning. We despised her. She was the bully character. She was the character we were supposed to hate from the start. But this is an episode that just showed a new light on her, and I just love that they did that. I like the fact that the first thing we see of Amity in this episode is something that's not even negative about her, something that's extremely positive, something that's super out of character for her. She's reading the children.
Wait. We're your friends, and we want to help, said the tin boy with a yelp. Odin smiled and paced the floor. I've never had real friends before. Amity reading to kids?
And she seems legit happy about it, and she doesn't seem like she's being forced to do it, or she's dreading to do it. She seems like she's legit enjoying herself doing this. She seems so sweet, and of course when she sees Lou, she's acting back to her bitchy ways.
Ugh, you. Amity! Whoop. Reading to kids! Wow! Looks like this sour lemon drop has a hidden sweet center. It's for extra credit. Don't get your leggings in a bunch.
But at that point, you kind of understand why she's acting like this towards Luce. And it's only because, like, things usually go wrong when Luce is around, and she just doesn't want anything bad to happen to her anymore. And it's understandable. And then, like, when she says, leave me alone, and Luce is just like, okay, I'll leave. You see that for a second, she even puts her hand out. Maybe she's about to stop her, like, for a second, and maybe she's like, you know, maybe I was being too mean. And we do learn that Amity does kind of feel bad the way she's been acting towards Luce, because we do read her diary and stuff, and, you know, we really do see that Amity is, you know, on the outside, yeah, she's kind of a bitch, but, you know, she's not really her fault. Like, we learn later it's because of her parents and stuff, but we learn that she's a really lonely person, and honestly, she kind of just wants someone to hang around with.
I wish I had somewhere to go. Why won't the human leave me alone? Called my teacher Mom again. Sorry I haven't written for a while. Wait, why am I apologizing?
And it's a nice little spin on the bully character in general, because, of course, we're supposed to hate the bully character, and yeah, some shows usually progress their bully character into, like, being an actual great character, but, you know, usually they don't do it this fast, and, like, I understand the reasons behind this, the Lumity stuff, but, you know, even at this point, I didn't even, like, you know, ship them at all. The only reason I even started shipping, like, Lumity is only because I just kept seeing so much fan art on the internet of them two, and I'm like, oh, that would be a cute shoot. But honestly, at this point, all I really cared about was them being friends, and that's kind of all I really cared about and wanted to see that friendship develop, not because of I thought they could be romantic great together, just because I wanted to see their relationship evolve, and it did evolve in this episode. You know, like when Luce was making a joke, Amity actually laughed and had a legit smile for the first time ever.
Now what? I don't know. I didn't even think that would work. I was all like, ah!
Yeah, she smiled, like, felt like when she was reading the children, but also, the only time she's ever smiled is when she's pretty much being a bitch, acting like she's Little Miss Perfect, and basically when she's trying to kill somebody. Yep, that's the only time she ever smiles. We also go to a library. Yep, we do. And also, we get introduced to Amity's family. Well, not the complete Blight family, but we get to introduce to her brother and sister.
Who are you?
Well-wishers on a mission.
A noble quest.
Watch this. Hey, Mittens! Mom says stop forgetting your lunch.
And I love those guys. I really do love those guys. And, you know, that, like, at first I thought I was probably gonna hate them, and maybe they were just gonna be like those siblings that really just hate on their little sister. No, they seem like they actually care. We get more into their characters, like, later on in the show, but I like that. They're just, like, fun siblings that just, like, mess with each other, basically. So, yeah. Overall, this is a fantastic episode. Just amazing episode. Just love it so much. Okay, let's go into the next episode.
But maybe we should think about this for a second.
Body swap!
Ooh. Did it work? I need a mirror. Oh. Found one. Oh my gosh!
Once upon a swap. Oh boy, that classic body swap episode. We always gotta have that classic body swap episode every season. Every season. It's good they finally got that out of the way, but honestly, this is probably the worst episode of the series. I'm not saying it's terrible, it's just an episode I probably never will go back to, because I don't really like this episode that much. Body swap episodes are never really that good, and in my opinion, probably the best body swap episode I can think of right now is the Gravity Falls episode, just because that one was actually pretty funny and just, like, had character growth and shit. Like, this one's just for jokes. There's not really character growth. I mean, yeah, they learned the lesson that our lives are hard. That's the lesson. Gotta learn that lesson that, oh, my life is hard. My life is hard, so is yours. I mean, it was cool to see Ida's sister, and we learned, like, you know, their relationship a tiny bit, but there's not really much in this episode at all. Oh, Basha was in this episode, you know, three-eyed bitch. She was in this episode. We got to learn that she's a real bitch. That's all. That's really all. This episode's nothing really. Nothing really to talk about. It's just, it's fine. It's fine. Anyways, we're just gonna move on to the next episode.
Human Appreciation Society. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you... Loose the Human!
Something ventured, something framed. I have no idea if I'm saying that right, but that is episode 9 of The Owl House. This was actually a really good episode, despite that Amity was not in this episode, which I was really disappointed by, because we went by the Hex side, and we didn't see one shot of Amity, and Amity was just one shot. I mean, they got their brother and sister got a scene, but not Amity. I don't understand this. Why did she get a scene? And plus that, like, if she was in the episode, it would make a lot more sense how, like Amity and Luce met up in the 12th episode. Like, it makes it like, when did Amity and Luce meet up? Like, when did they know to meet up? Like, who did they get, like, did Amity mail her? Like, that's something I still am kind of annoyed by, because, like, there's no phones. There's literally, you know, I mean, there's scrolls, but can people call scrolls? I mean, they have, like, Instagram scroll thing or whatever. I don't know. It would be nice to just have, like, a cameo of Amity in this episode, but we didn't. But it's still actually a pretty good episode. This actually does kind of progress the plot. It's sort of fillery, but also it does progress the plot, because this is the episode where Luce is admitted into Hexside. Well, she doesn't go to Hexside. I mean, she goes to Hexside, you know, in the building of Hexside, but she's not enrolled into Hexside this episode. I mean, she does get enrolled to Hexside, but that's not her first day in Hexside. Okay, so basically Gus, you know, Gus has that, you know, oh, look at that, I actually used his name. I actually used his name. I'm sorry. Black Kid. Black Kid had basically this human society, which is a dumb club. But then oh boy, the new kid comes in class, and he's bringing a whole bunch of shit in, like some rocks and stuff, and everyone's amazed by this because they're stupid.
At my old school, we had real treasures.
So real!
And, you know, Gus wants to prove that all this stuff is fake. So he brings in Luce, and of course, you know, she's banned for causing a whole bunch of crap in the school, for good reasons. And, you know, Black Kid, you know, lies to her and says, oh, you're admitted to Hexside.
Luce, about the ban. I, used my HAS presidential authority to pull some strings. You've been given a full pardon.
You mean...
I got the ban lifted.
It's an Owl House episode. I gotta do the wrong thing. I gotta always do the wrong thing. You know? It's Owl House. It's freaking Owl House. We do this every episode. But this was a good episode. I actually really enjoyed this. Going back to Hexside, you know, just seeing characters again, I guess. Fine. Detention's creepy as hell. I cannot believe parents allow this. I mean... it's funny, honestly. Parents allow anything. I bet you they probably allow killing children. I bet you that if some kid killed a child there, they wouldn't care. They literally would not care. This is the Owl House universe. This is a fine episode. You know, we got a new character. You know, the new kid. He's also a bitch. Literally every single character we get introduced to is a bitch, except like Ida, King. Well, I mean, King's also kind of a bitch most of the time. Hootie, he's just. Hootie exists. Literally every character. That's not the main character. Amity's not a bitch anymore. Well, actually, she's technically still kind of a bitch, but, you know, every character's a bitch. That's not the main characters. Okay, let's go ahead and move on.
Trust must be earned through trials!
Trial?
I've escaped from the plasmin. Am I pronouncing that right? Escape from the plasmid. I don't really know. This is episode 10. It's another one of these meh episodes. And to be honest, after episode 7, pretty much all the episodes are kind of meh. I mean, episode 9 was honestly pretty good, but I feel like after episode 7 it was kind of meh. Maybe because we didn't have any Amity. You know, Amity always enhances everything, as I said. I mean, come on. You have to admit this. Like, come on. Every episode that Amity's in, she just enhances that episode. Well, let's be serious here, people. Let's honestly be serious. She enhances everything she's in. Okay, let's be for real here. Okay, but also this was okay episode. To be honest, the King plotline is probably the one. Like every time I think about this episode, I just come back to that King plotline, which is just terrible. And honestly, most of the King plot lines are terrible. I feel like that is one negative to the Owl House, is the King plot lines. I don't hate King. I really do not hate King, but his plot lines are terrible. Literally every single time. Like, I just don't care anytime we go back to King. Like, it's just ridiculously stupid. I don't know, like every episode, apparently he grows as a character, learning he shouldn't do this, even though the next episode he's gonna do that exact same stupid thing. Every single time. We know that he's selfish. We know that he wants to be king of demons and bully children and kill children. He wants to do that, but it's just, they're not interesting. King's just not an interesting character. Like, he can't carry an episode. That's the thing. He has to be supported, but usually even if he is supported, it's just not good. And I hope in season 2 they fix that, just because King is just, like, there's a lot of great O for King, but he's just not the best character. Also, in this episode, the characters do something stupid again. Of course they do, because this is Owl House. You know, Luz takes the magic staff to go to the Grudgeby match, and oh boy, she breaks, Albert. Is that his name? Albert, yes. And then Albert runs away like a bitch for literally no reason, because he's like, my head's hurting, I better fly to this dark and scary woods. Like, why would you do that? And of course, we come in contact with the character that we met a couple episodes ago, the Bat Queen. Oh God, what an ugly bitch. What an ugly looking creature. Like, God, I would shoot that thing on sight if I ever saw that.
To go home.
Hello, small human.
Bat Queen comes back and gives us some trials to get back Albert. Like, come on, Albert. Come back. We have to do chores and stuff, and of course, once all that happens, Albert's like, I forgive you. You did all this hard labor for me. I will forgive you. And then Albert's like, no, you can't do this. I am the queen. I summon fire, bitch. And then she starts attacking, and then we learn a little bit of lore, actually, with this world, that, you know, there's, like, people create these, like these statue creature things that are on their staffs. And the Owl Queen was actually a staff creature.
Is that an interlock? Bat Queen, you used to be on a staff, didn't you? You were a palisman.
Apparently, to a giant. There's also theories that she could be the original, like, boiling isles. You know that giant corpse they live on? Also, just think about that. They literally live on somebody's corpse. Yep, that's child friendly. And of course, Luz is like, you know, I'll help you if you ever want to find out the truth, because apparently the Bat Queen forgot, which opens up a plot thread. So basically, that's somehow gonna come back at some point. I don't know why you decided to, like, help her, because she tried to kill you. I wouldn't help that bitch for anything. Like, why would you want to help the Bat Queen? And of course, as I said, King's plotline. Yep, I mean, it is kind of important because, you know, we learned that Ida's curse is getting worse. And basically, like, the elixir is not working anymore, even though, you know, we hadn't seen really any episodes where that elixir really doesn't come up at all. Like, after episode 10, she doesn't even turn to the owl monster anymore. Like, we honestly don't even get mention of that. Maybe, like, one time in Grom, but that's it. That's literally it. Like, that curse thing? Well, that doesn't exist anymore. That don't exist anymore. But this was an okay episode. You know, it's just one of those things where, like, oh, character does this, which we all know is a bad idea. But, you know, it's fine in the end. Even though, like, bad things happens, everything's fine in the end. Everything goes to fine town. But also, Glasses and Black Kid were in this episode. Well, I'm sorry, Gus and Willow, because apparently everyone's offended if I call them names. Like, come on, I'm black. Can I not call another person black? I mean, I don't really understand how that's kind of, like, I guess that's racist, but also, like, I'm just saying to myself, I'm calling a black man black when I'm black. So is that racist? I don't, like, when I think, like, is that racist? I don't know. Like, the Gus hasn't, like, I think a big reason why I haven't even, like, called Willow Glasses in a while. Like, I've noticed in my reactions, I've just been calling her Willow. I think a big reason is why, because she's had a big impression on me. Like, I like her character a lot more now. Gus literally has no impressions on me. Gus is just there. He do exists. He has one episode, and that's episode 9. But literally, that's it. Like, he just exists. And that is Gus's character. To exist. And also, he's like one of the only guy characters. So, and also it makes sense that like King and freaking like Gus get along because they're the only 2 guy characters in this entire little group of women. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, that was kind of my first 5 episodes review. So what I think about the season so far, I think these batch of episodes are pretty weak. The only episode I would say is pretty strong is episode 7 and episode 9 to some extent. Episode 10 is fine, but that King plotline kind of really just drags it down. And I like the fact that we learned a lot more about the world in episode 10, just because of like how many people just abandon their like staff characters, like the little thingies or whatever. So yeah, like we learned a lot about the world in episode 10, but it's just like, yeah, these batch of episodes are probably the weakest. Like, the next batch of episodes are a lot stronger. I feel like after episode 10, or really after episode 11, the series freaking transforms into something amazing. Like, we have to, sadly enough, you have to get through these episodes. It feels like it's kind of a pain to have to re-watch these episodes, some of them. But just like, like, so some of them are important, like Hootie's Moving Hassle, I would say Lost in Language, well, really the only one that's not really important is Once Upon a Swap. Like, you could skip that shit. Like, there's no reason to go back. I have not gone back to that after my reaction. Literally have not rewatched the episode at all. I mean, I kind of had to rewatch it during editing, but literally have not gone back to the episode at all. So, yeah, these episodes are fine, but yeah, there's nothing really much else to say, about this. I mean, we get a lot of, like, character growth a little bit with Luce and her friends. I mean, I wouldn't really call that character growth. I mean, what am I even trying to say? I can't really say much only because, like, there's a lot more to say with the next 5 episodes. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, that's really it for me. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. So, goodbye, everybody. Down, now, 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 now.